recording.
Don't you have to play his disclaimer?
We are not live. We go through this
We
every
don't,
time.
I know, but I can't remember because I've got some problems with my memory.
Say your
these days.
disclaimer, please.
Oh, so we're recording?
Yeah, just say it.
For those that are listening, my name is Blake Grooms. I have opinions and I have views. And them opinions and views are those of my own. In no way, shape, or form should they reflect the opinions and views of the city of Lawrenceburg or the Lawrenceburg Police Department.
All right, outstanding. What about that, Tommy Lee kid?
Do you have
to
any
say- Do you
disclaimers?
have to say a disclaimer?
I have opinions and views as well. And in no way do my opinions or views are a reflection of the Lawrence County government or Lawrence County Courthouse.
Well, that was good.
They're only my opinions and views.
You did a good job on that. I appreciate that. I'm the only one that's not affiliated. How about that?
What, so are
You're
you
not
saying,
affiliated with what?
you don't have opinions and views?
I do, but you know what? It's okay.
He thinks his are always
because
right.
I'm pretty sure this is the sheriff's law enforcement hour.
Oh,
So I can say pretty much what I want, Tommy Lee. I don't have to bite my lip very often.
I got you.
What are you doing these days? Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm just praying for wisdom that I say exactly what I need to say and nothing that I don't need to say.
You're the circuit court clerk, right?
Yes,
Just got
circuit court
elected in
clerk. Yes.
2022.
September 2022. I have.
Do I need to let everybody know my claim to fame?
What? Yes. What is that, John?
The fact that I got more votes than you did. I got more complimentary
Now-
votes than Tommy Lee Kidd in the primary in 2022, and he's never even arrested anybody.
My goal next year, nine more
That's
votes.
impressive,
Nine
ain't it?
more votes than I. So I was shooting for John. I was shooting to get more votes than John. But my goal next year, next time we run, is to beat John.
Okay.
That's my goal.
so
The
are we
number
going
of
to lay a
votes.
wager?
No,
Always.
no
With
wager.
me, yeah, always,
Yeah.
yeah. Gentleman's bet.
Wager.
Okay.
There's always going to be a gentleman's bet on there. Tommy don't do that, but
Right.
you know you can count.
I can count
I
on
play
them.
percentages. You know, I'm pretty good at playing odds and percentages and stuff.
Right.
What about Brady Hutton? I think he got more than everybody.
This last time, right?
Yeah, he sent me a
Yes.
text, and
He
you know
did.
we were chatting
I
it
know.
up, and I said you got to let Tommy Lee know you
I
got
know,
more
he
votes
did.
than he did.
I haven't responded to that text yet. So,
You need to walk over there.
that's right.
You need to walk over there and knock on his door and say,
There you go.
Brady, I hear me and you've got a problem. And see how it works out.
Well, here's my game plan for next time, Maddie, to get more votes than anybody. I'm going to make all new signs, and I'm going to have Abigail's dad on all my signs. And so
Then everybody would know you at that point.
that's exactly right. Right.
Well, if you do that,
Yeah.
I'm going to go get a selfie with her. I'm going to give her $20, and I'm going to get a selfie with her, and I'm going to say Abigail's favorite sheriff.
There you
And I'm
go.
going to
There
put
you
that
go.
on. I'm going to put that on every commercial,
There you go.
every sign.
There you go.
So why don't we just call Trump and have him to come down here and get a picture with Abigail, and then let's just call this
Well-
election over.
All right.
I think
So
you
I'm going
ought
to
to
show
do
y'all my
that.
Christmas card this year. And I had a lady tell me the other
Like
day.
for 2024, or is this
Yes,
the past one?
2024 Christmas card. And I had a lady tell me the other day, the only way you will ever top this Christmas card is Abigail and Jesus. Okay? Check that out.
Oh, I remember
That's
this.
awesome.
Is that not awesome?
Yes, I remember that one.
Is that not awesome?
That is awesome.
Yes, we were at the State Court Clerks Conference in Dollywood in May of last year. And I'll just do this real quick. So they gave us a room. And when I go in a hotel, I always read the sign to which way you're supposed to go to your room. And I always go the wrong way. I don't know why I always go the wrong way. So I go this way.
201 to 212.
Yeah,
that way.
exactly. So I go this way, and I come back to the room, and I say, honey, the room, like on the other side of the elevator shaft, it says the Dolly Parton Suite. And it's got double doors and everything. I wonder if that's where she really stays. Well, we knew she was coming into town the end of that week to christen one of her new roller coasters. So we're standing there waiting on our luggage. They're 25 minutes late getting our luggage because anytime you go anywhere with Abigail and Lisa for 2 or 3 days, we take
The whole house.
The whole house.
Right.
So we're waiting on them to come get our luggage, and they're 25 minutes late. And all of a sudden, of course, I made friends with the security guys and all that stuff.
You never.
Well, you know. And so all of a sudden, the demeanor changes. He heard something in his ear. He said, if you don't mind, if you can move Miss Abigail right over there. And there were like 8 guys in black suits. He said, I got a guest coming down the back hall in 1 minute. And there was like 8 guys in black suits show up. And Dolly's right in the middle of them. And she sees Abigail. She stops the whole entire parade, comes to Abigail, and here's the cool thing. She starts talking to Abigail, Maddie. She don't talk to me. She starts talking to Abigail. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And her and Abigail talked. And then Lisa got around there, and they talked about hair and all that stuff. And my wife is telling everybody, it's the only time in 25 years of us being married she's ever seen me speechless.
I'm sure.
I couldn't say anything.
I'm sure.
I finally got out, Miss Dolly, is there any way we could get a picture? She said, honey, this is Bob, my lighting guy. Bob, you move Abigail around and move all these security guys out of the way, and let's just get a picture. And then we got a family picture. She said, well, let's just get a family. She was so nice. All of the stories you've heard about her being nice and down to earth
When was this?
It was May of last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she is so nice. She's so beautiful. She is everything that you think Dolly Parton would be.
You know,
Probably
when they call her the queen of country music, I don't think that is just. That's not a big enough title for Dolly Parton. I mean, what she has
absolutely.
done, not only in country music, but what she has done for children in the Imagination Station, the library, the book deal. My children, 2 and 4, when we pull a book out of the mailbox, I mean,
It's game over.
It's a big thing because we read every night, and they know we got a new book tonight.
Yep.
And
Is that not amazing?
it is, and that's a good story. That's a good story.
The impact that she's had on all of society is just absolutely unbelievable. It's amazing.
I'd like to have her bank account.
Sure. I'm sure it's it's probably plural. There
Tommy,
are probably accounts.
You are our circuit court clerk.
Correct. Yes.
And I think most people would be surprised to know how close you work with law enforcement. Now, and I've said this on air, that one of our duties, sheriff's duties, specifically my duty, is to serve warrants, civil and criminal. Now, we've got a little wiggle room on the civil stuff, but all arrest warrants are our baby. Deputies serve them. State troopers don't. Lawrenceburg police don't. We serve them. Now, they will go get somebody for us and bring them to jail for us, but as far as the process of serving that warrant on them and booking them in, that falls on us. But every single paper that comes down the pike comes through your office.
Every one of them.
So let's talk about the process on civil and criminal papers, how they come through your office and how they make to my office. And let's talk a little bit about your staff and how many people it takes to do that.
Yes. So basically, let's talk about the civil part first, and then we'll get into the criminal, because the criminal is kind of more interesting than the civil is,
I would say.
I guess you could say. So if somebody wants to come and fill out a civil summons in my office,
What would an example
Okay,
be for obtaining a civil summons?
an example of a civil summons would be someone that has some type of rental business here in town, and they rent something to somebody, and they can't get that person to pay the rent, and they can't get that person to bring that piece of property back. That would be a suit that they would file in my office. They would come to my office, and it would cost $170.50 to file a civil warrant or civil summons in my office.
Now, is that kind of the same thing as what we call, that's not a bench warrant. A bench warrant's an FTA, right?
That is correct as far as my understanding goes. I'm not gonna, the court system is such a beast. You all know. I have been here since September of 22, So I do not, Maddie, I don't know everything there is to know about the court stuff, okay? So I'm not gonna,
do though.
I really don't. But I'm learning more and more every day. Every day's a new day.
So the difference in what you're saying, if that's a civil issue, that's not
Exactly.
a criminal violation.
That is between one party and another party.
They had an agreement and somebody didn't
Correct.
follow through with the agreement.
Correct.
So they're summoning them into court and basically bringing it in front of the judge to make a decision.
That is correct. At the point they fill out a civil summons, they will receive a court date at that time. And the other party will be notified of that court date through your office, through you all serving that summons. And both parties will have to come to court. They'll have to come before the judge, and they'll see, you know, the thing is, let's all see if we can get together and work this out instead of them having to have a fight and all that kind of stuff. So that's the point of coming into the office and doing things the legal way. Is if it comes through my office, it's all recorded. We record every piece of paper that comes through my office, and it is a monumental task. You know, you hit on how many people I have in my office. I have 10 folks working in my office. Actually, I have 11 folks because Abigail
comes in.
Kid comes in there and shreds for us every Wednesday.
Does a fine job.
She is a master shredder. But that is pretty much very simply the process. You come into my office, talk to my wonderful folks there that do the civil side, and you can fill out a civil summons in my office. Pay us $100, $170.50. All those fees are state mandated, so you know we don't have a lot of control over the fees that we charge.
What's another example? And the reason I'm asking is because we probably answer more calls for rental disagreements than anything else as far as civil calls.
Absolutely. Right.
So let's talk a little bit about, for example, you've got some rental property, you've got a rental contract, you've been renting to this person for a year,
Right.
and then they get behind.
Yes.
And now it's 6 months and they still haven't paid anything. What does a person need to do?
So you come in my office and you take out, I think it's called a detainer warrant, if I'm not mistaken on that. You have to, first of all, before you do that, you have to write a letter to that person. Let's say that I'm renting to Blake, and Blake doesn't pay me for 6 months, and I decide I'm going to kick Blake out of your place. Then the first thing I have to do is I have to write a certified letter to Blake. I have to go to the post office, and I have to give him 30 days in that certified letter to get out of that house. Now, I don't have to, I have to get that verification from the post office that I actually sent that letter. After that 30 days, I then come into the circuit court office, circuit sessions office, kind of the same deal there. And I say, hey, I would like to take out a whatever piece of paper y'all have got to say you got to leave my house. So that is called, I believe that's called a detainer warrant. So we fill that out. I believe that is $170.50 as well. At that time, then you go to, and this is a civil matter as well. You go to, you get a court date. You all will get a court date and go before Judge Harris. Judge Harris does a great job with these. And hopefully we can work out a resolution that person before they go to court is already out. That like you already moved out of the house and we don't have to go any further there. If that does not happen, you will have to come to court. The property owner will have to, I will have to come to court as the property owner. And we will see if we can reach an agreement in court. And if we cannot reach an agreement, the judge will then give you 10 days to get out of that house. Now, it doesn't seem, now this is Tommy Lee's opinion, it doesn't seem real fair to me, John, that I've got a piece of property and I can't just go kick somebody out of the house. But that's not the way it happens. You guys know, you deal with this every day. You deal with this every day. You have to go through the legal process. After that 10 days, then I had a couple of officers here not too long ago, and we were talking about a situation, and they said, hey, we have spent all day long at this person's house, out in the yard, waiting for them to clean their house out. Because we have to go over there when that final piece of paper comes down. We have to go over there and we have to make sure that they are out of that house.
So once the judge gives them an additional 10 days and
Yes.
they still haven't vacated the property,
Yes.
does the homeowner have to go get a writ
It's,
that tells us to go make sure they leave that property?
thank you for mentioning that, John. That is the last step in that process is called a writ of possession. And they come in my office and they say, okay, now we need a piece of paper that activates this. So it's called a writ of possession that goes down to your office.
Is there a fee involved in that?
There is a fee involved in that as well.
Now tell me why that person isn't held in contempt of court when the judge tells them they have to vacate the premises in 10 days and they don't, and then the homeowner has to go back and spend more money
That is correct.
to get a writ to have them removed from the property. What do you think on that? I mean, in my opinion, once you violate that court order, then the homeowner shouldn't have to go get another document.
So I go back to my disclaimer, very first this program,
Let's see how this works.
and say
I
that.
promise I'm not doing this on purpose.
And I go back to my disclaimer to say that now the opinion is time to leave kids. I believe that there needs to be a legislation change on that. And personally, I think it needs to be easier on the homeowner to remove someone that they're renting to, that they can't get out of the house. Because you're exactly right, John. You've got two different fees you have to pay to get somebody out of the house. You've got a total of about, by the time it all plays out, somewhere around 60 days of lag time. By the time you do the 30 days, the 15 days, the other 10 days, you got about 60 days before you can legally get somebody out of a property.
And that's after the fact that you've had problems with them for a while.
Oh, absolutely.
Here's the
Yes.
conversation that I always have with property owners when they're complaining about the time and the fees it takes. I always tell them that $300 and something that you're going to pay to get the paperwork to get them removed off the property is a lot cheaper than the fine and the restitution and the court cost you're going to pay if you go down there and you handle it yourself and you wind up getting in a fight
Absolutely.
and you get arrested.
Yep.
No piece of property, no piece of rental property,
Nope.
and no count renter is worth you going to jail for and getting yourself jammed up. And I tell people that all the time. You're better off just to give them the 30 days notice. Go get your civil warrant to get them in front of the judge. Let the judge give them another 10 days. Go back up there, get your writ, and then we'll go make sure they vacate the property.
Do the majority of them stay in past the 10 days? Would you say?
Some of them we have to physically, we don't go physically remove their property, but we make sure it gets physically removed.
I would say, Maddie, that most of the time, the folks, once they get the letter, they're going to try to, they're going to try to do what's right. But you have those folks that are not going to try to do what's right.
Speaking of disclaimers, did you know that if it's more than a 20% chance of rain, we can't serve a writ?
I did not know that.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't know that either.
I'm pretty sure it's
I
20%.
didn't
Within
know
a
that.
24-hour period?
Wow.
Something
Or
like
at the
that.
time of execution?
Something like that. I would have to talk to my warrant
know that.
sergeant, but there is a disclaimer in that writ that we can't make sure somebody moves their stuff out in the yard when it's raining.
Well, I tell you what, and I think Blake and I worked on this one several months ago together. Let's go one step further. We had a guy come in our office that allowed a person to basically live on his couch. He wasn't renting to the guy. he had a person living on his couch. And this guy started doing some things that he shouldn't be doing, started getting in some drug activity and things like that. And he had his son in the house as well. Hey, he couldn't get the guy off his couch. And he had to take legal action to get the guy off his couch.
Well, you know, there's been a law change, and we were notified of it a couple of years ago, I think, maybe in 21 or 22. But you can have somebody trespassed off your property. For example, if you're doing a good deed and letting your brother-in-law stay with you temporarily, and he starts, like you said, doing some stuff you don't agree with, you know, bringing in whatever and doing whatever, and you tell them to leave, and they say, well, no, I've been here longer than 30 days. I've established an address here. We can go make that person leave. We can trespass that person. It used to be a lot tougher. Once they camped out there for a little while, they could argue, well, I've got an expectation. I live here.
I've established residence.
Yes. So, but that's different now. So that doesn't mean we can go kick somebody off your property anytime you don't want them there anymore.
Right.
But what they've done is they've put more power into the landowners' hands where they have.
That's good, because 20 years ago, if you let somebody, you know, stay a week or so, and they pulled a slick one and ordered a magazine and had it, you know, mailed to your house, their name but your address, it was a pretty big position that person had already established residency.
Well, if you remember this case that I'm talking about, that's what happened with this guy. He had been there so long, he had changed all of his address, all of his mailings and everything to this address. So that kind of established residency.
It is.
There, and then you start drawing gray lines.
Well,
you know?
we had like we've discussed on this show several times in the past, probably the biggest civil issue that we encounter is somebody, a property owner wanting somebody off their property, out of their house. And about 2 years ago, we got an official opinion after the new law from the DA's office, and that opinion summed up basically said it's like this: if you do not have an official lease, if you do not have an official agreement properly drawn up between two parties, to the person who decides to go sleep on your couch, they are doing that at their own risk. They will forever be a guest. That if there's nothing official, they can be told, not asked, told to leave at any time.
Bottom line is, get some kind of an agreement or a contract,
Absolutely.
even if it's a handwritten, and it's signed off and notarized. That's
correct.
It's just like a handwritten bill of sale.
Yep.
You get it notarized, you have the renter sign it and the property owner sign it, that's good. Because that's going to be the first thing we ask if we get called to a dispute over a renter or some renter property.
Absolutely.
We're going to say, well, do you have a rental contract or a lease? And that's the first thing we're going to look at. So that's a civil warrant. Let's talk a little bit about a criminal summons. The difference between a criminal summons and an arrest warrant. Now, you guys do not issue arrest warrants.
That is correct. As
we were just talking about this the other day.
Right. So since I've been in office, we've had lots of discussions about criminal warrants, criminal summonses. So the tough part about that piece of paper, that process, is that someone has to be in a position to determine what is termed as probable cause. So let's say that an officer goes out, gets a call, and says, "Hey, my neighbor has," and we actually had this happen. "Hey, my neighbor has slashed my tires in my driveway." So the officer goes out to the house, and they can't determine if it was the neighbor that actually did the slashing or not. Pretty much know the neighbor did the slashing of the tires, but
Just can't prove it.
can you prove it? Probably not. So you all, the officer, would determine that there's not probable cause to create a criminal summons in this matter and go have that person picked up. So that person comes down to the circuit court office and says, hey, I want to take out a criminal summons on my neighbor just slashed my tires. Well, the first thing we require to determine that is, well, if you're looking at doing that, you have to bring in a police report.
An official police
An
report.
official police report. So they go get, and this is before 2 weeks ago, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So they go get the official police report, bring it back. Well, the issue that the sheriff, officers, and I have been working on, Maddie, ever since I've been in office, and the judge as well, DA's office as well, is if the officer will not determine probable cause, how can my staff in my office determine that probable cause as well?
Right.
You know, if the officer has actually been there on site and not been able to determine probable cause, why should someone in my office be the one that signed their name on a sheet of paper? And I have researched the legal opinion on that. And if I put my name on that piece of paper, I am determining probable cause. So if the officer won't do it, why should I? So that is the discussion that has been happening, Maddie, for like a year and what is it, year and a half, a little over a year and a half now.
So what do we do to fix it?
So here's what we've done to fix that issue. And I think it's been a great coordinated effort on behalf of me and the sheriff and the officers and the DA's office. And I say me, my staff, and everybody is we already had magistrates in place. A magistrate has some training as to how to determine probable cause. The magistrates are there. Anything that happens after hours, the officers go to the magistrates anyway. So Judge Harris has been gracious in setting up and John has worked with him as well. We all work together really, really great. So now we have a magistrate on Wednesday afternoons from 4:30 to 6:30 down in the sheriff's office. And they are sitting there waiting on you, Maddie, to come in. And Maddie, you can come in and you can bring all your criminal summons that you want to bring, and they will determine right there probable cause.
So did you know about this, Captain?
Yes, sir. Magistrate Hardy, as a matter of fact,
Right.
advised us of this. I
So-
believe it's on Wednesdays
Wednesdays,
between
4:30 and 6:30.
I'll give you another example. Say we roll up, we get called to a fight. And when we get there, it's already broken up. But Jimmy's got a bloody nose and Joe's got a black eye. And they've got witnesses saying, yeah, they were fighting.
Mm-hmm.
We're not, that didn't occur in front of us. We didn't witness that. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw up a report about Jimmy and Joe or Johnny or whoever I said, getting in a fight, and then they can go to the magistrate with that report and
Absolutely.
say, well, I was standing there minding my own business and Jimmy come up and sucker punched me. And I want to take out a criminal summons on him for assault.
Mm-hmm.
And the magistrate's going to say, well, let me see your probable cause. Let me see your arrest report.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to look it over and he's going to say, do you swear that this information you're telling, he's going to put you under oath. Do you swear that this information is true and accurate? And you're going to raise your right hand. You're going to say, yeah, I swear. He's going to give you that criminal summons and it's going to go in front of the judge. And it's the best thing because we were put in the position where the caller or the victim wanted us to make the arrest an hour or 2 hours after the incident.
Mm-hmm.
And we would say, well, it didn't occur in front of us. We didn't see it. We didn't witness it. And you want me to swear under oath about it? How about I just do a report and you go get the one? I'll tell you how it used to work back in the day with domestic violence. The victim could, for example, man and a woman, we get there, the woman's beat up, and the man's still there drunk. So we arrest him and we bring him to jail. The woman would be escorted by us to the jail to swear in front of the magistrate what happened. And the magistrate would issue the warrant. Well, it changed. Remember when it changed?
Sir, I was born in '84. I don't even. When did that happen?
This is like,
I mean,
Look, I was born 6 years after him. Don't look at
I'm
me.
sitting there thinking, y'all made the victim go down there?
You know what?
no, seriously.
I realized I'm the
It wasn't
oldest one in
until-
this room.
It
Okay?
wasn't until I've been in law enforcement 6, 8, 10 years when they changed it and they gave the
Well,
law
we
enfor-
weren't
they gave
even
law
born
enforcement
yet.
the lead way. Keep it up. I got a switchblade.
Tell him that so he doesn't.
This is blowing my mind.
I'm thinking the
I'm
same
over here
thing.
like, we gave
So
the
the
victim
victim would have to
transportation
go
a
in
safe
front of the
place.
magistrate?
We
You know.
couldn't make the arrest back in the day. We had to escort the victim to the jail where they would swear under oath to the magistrate and issue the warrant. It was. I'm telling you, it was 6, 8, 10 years later.
Was y'all
when-
like chiseling the
when-
arrest warrant
when-
out with a...
Has he got his gun belt on?
Yes.
Has he got his gun?
I don't know, but
All I
I'm
got
really
is my
interested in this
switchblade.
switchblade that is actually
That's a lot of work
to
too.
comb your hair, I think.
I mean, to
You want to try it?
So, now this is amazing because right off the bat, that is a very hard position as a victim of domestic violence to be put in. How many times did you get down to the jail and the
They
victim,
changed
the
their
victim
mind.
be like, you know what, I don't
but given domestic violence wasn't as rampant as it is now,
Exactly, 100%.
you know, you.
I made that.
Mhm.
That.
I do pay
point.
attention when you talk sometimes.
You heard that?
Yeah.
You know what the daily average for everybody in law enforcement in Lawrence County? What the daily average is domestics a day?
I do not.
Two. We average 2 domestic calls for service.
Physical or non-physical?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. So
Every day.
Domestic calls for service, countywide, city, sheriff, the other municipalities, 2 a day is what we average. And when I spoke in front of the domestic violence shelter banquet, I told people that stat, and I said, I can remember when it was 2 a week. You might get a couple of domestics on the weekends, but that was it for the most part. You just didn't get dispatched to that many. I mean, yeah, the population was a little bit lower and things were a little bit simpler.
Social
We didn't
media
have
wasn't
social
in.
media and Snapchat and cell phones and
Back a long
the
time
internet.
ago, I bet those were on Saturday nights, probably.
A lot of them,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of them, they'd leave the bar and they'd get home and they'd get into it, you know. But the kicker to that, bringing the victim to the station to swear in front of the magistrate, if the victim had had anything to drink, they couldn't do it. They had to wait.
Gotcha.
That was another catch to
Gotcha.
it.
Well, I'm glad to see that we've made strides
Absolutely.
in the world of domestic violence.
Now let's talk a little bit more about what the difference in a criminal summons is versus a civil summons too. So the criminal summons,
They're both criminal. A criminal violation
Right.
has to occur to get a
Exactly.
criminal summons or an arrest warrant.
and that is a criminal summons is the state of Tennessee versus somebody. It's not a person versus
a
another
person.
person. It is the state of Tennessee versus somebody, which would be General Cooper, General Brent Cooper's office, the DA's office, versus somebody. So that, and a criminal summons doesn't cost the person anything to take out a criminal summons. Lots of folks want to take out criminal summons just because it don't cost anything. Well, you know, there are rules to taking out a criminal summons.
What
If
would
it's-
be an example? What's the most common criminal summons that you see go through your office?
Well, theft probably.
Mhm.
Theft is probably the most. You know, somebody
Worthless checks.
worthless checks, theft. Walmart brings a lot of criminal summons because people
Shop.
go through the shoplifting and people go through the. Hey, that's a whole different discussion
Yeah,
that I don't know if we want to get
Yeah,
into there.
We don't want to.
We don't wanna go there.
They're going to have their own court date soon.
Yeah.
But-
I mean, it's horrible.
Yeah, but people do go through Walmart and steal things, and they got a great camera situation there, and so all of those would be criminal summonses. Now, if you know, we've just went through an exercise to determine whether something is criminal or civil, working through some things, getting this set up in downstairs. And so I've learned a lot in the last 2 months that I did not know regarding the difference between a civil warrant or a civil summons and a criminal summons or a criminal warrant. So it's very interesting, very intriguing.
I'll give you an example of the difference between a civil violation and a criminal violation, and we deal with this. This is a common one. A guy sells a motorcycle to another guy, and they agree that he's going to give him $500 now, and he's going to give him $1,000 next week.
Mm-hmm.
They draw it up. Guy leaves with it, and he never gives him that $1,000. I've had him want to come get a warrant for theft or a criminal summons for theft. Well, it's not theft. It's a civil agreement that you made that person didn't honor.
Right.
You didn't steal it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look at the TCA for theft, you'll clearly see that wasn't a theft. It was an agreement that they had, and one guy didn't honor it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So that goes through the civil procedures. Now, a lot of people don't know the difference between a criminal summons and a criminal warrant is that when you accept service on a criminal summons, you still have to get booked into the jail. You still have to get fingerprinted.
Correct.
You still have to get photographed. You just don't have to post bond.
Right.
Correct.
An arrest warrant, if you accept service on an arrest warrant, you got to go through the same thing, fingerprinted, photographed, booked in, but you have to post a bail amount to get out. That's the difference.
Right. And you know, that brings in a whole nother, how are you going to get bonded out? You're going to find somebody to upfront you some money. You're going to find somebody to, you know, usually it's 10%,
Right.
Whatever. So
While using a bond.
somebody gets a bond of $5,000. Are they going to call their parents and say, "Hey, I need $500," and then there's another fee? I think it's $537 on a $5,000 bond. Is
Yes.
that right? To get out,
I guess.
something like that.
You know, it was the
So-
standard was always 10% is what the bondsman charged
And that's
for
usually
signing
what it is
your
now.
bond amount. I tell you something else that's changed. A property bond was real simple to make back in the day.
And real simple to do.
Say Joe Criminal gets a $20,000 bond that he has to post, and he gets his dad and his brother to bring their deeds to show that
That's
their
correct.
property, and they done this all through the jail office. We had a form that we would fill out. His dad and his brother would show up, and they would say, "Here's our deeds," and it would show that it's free and clear, and the value of the property is at least equivalent to the bail amount. But you had to have two separate ones. You couldn't just have one. You couldn't have one big one. You couldn't have 180 acres worth $500,000. You still had to have another one. And we would look at that deed, and if everything checked out with the deed, a lot of times we'd have to have our supervisor come look at the deeds and make sure that they're free and clear, and the amount is equal to or more than the bail amount. We'd take copies of it. They'd sign the paperwork saying they agreed to post that property up for bail, and they would make sure that the guy showed up for court, and they'd walk out the door, and it didn't cost anything.
Right.
Well, sometime between 98 and 20 whatever, when I got elected, it changed. So now, correct me if I'm wrong, they have to go, if you want to sign a property bond for somebody, you have to go to an attorney, and the
that's correct.
attorney
Yes.
has to draw up
That's right.
the paperwork
That's right.
and then present it in
Right.
front of, now do you approve them, or does the judge have to approve those?
No, I think the judge has to approve those.
Or magistrate?
Maybe
wonder
a
if one-
magistrate. I'm not sure.
I'm not either.
I'm not real sure who approves those property bonds, but
But I know an attorney has to,
That's
you have
right.
to pay an attorney to draw it. Well, I guess the attorney can decide.
it's no longer a simple process.
It's
anymore.
not.
It's going to cost you some money.
It's gonna cost you
Right.
some money, but
Right.
in the long, I mean, might save you some, you know?
Right.
But I think there's a misconception with people that they think all they have to do is get this person to court on their initial appearance day.
Correct.
No, they gotta be in court every single time.
That's right.
You know, if the initial appearance, and then if they have some kind of a hearing, and then if they set it for trial, and then, I mean, if there's 3 or 4 court dates, you have to make sure that that person's in court until the disposition is over. Unless you can ask the court to let you off that bond. Now, whether they will or not, I don't know. That would be a question for, I guess, the DA's office or
Right.
the judge.
Right.
Well, generally, when my experience, when a bondsman asks, you know, to come off of somebody's bond, the court generally grants it pretty quickly because they see it as, okay, this entity, this bonding company, they're in the business of making sure people appear in court. There must be a valid reason why they want to come off the bond. I don't know if I've ever seen a bonding company get turned down from coming off of somebody's bond.
I've seen, in my law enforcement career, I know of 2 times a bondsman has had to satisfy a bond amount to the court.
Really?
I've been in this 30-something years, and 2 times that they couldn't find the bad guy. They couldn't find him. He jumped bail, and they looked and looked and looked, and finally the court said, "All right, we're tired. We gave you, you know, a lot of times they'll give them 6 months, a year, 18 months to get this guy in front of the court, and at some point they gotta pay the
Now,
fine."
we did get notification about a month ago from. So one thing, John, that I think that a lot of folks don't understand is our judges work in a circuit. Our circuit is Lawrence, Giles, Wayne, and Murray. And so we have now 5 circuit judges, and they rotate between those counties. Of course, the majority of all the criminal activity, we have a ton of criminal activity here, but Lord, Murray County is, I mean, just because of their size and on that interstate the way they are. So we've now got a 5th circuit judge to kind of help that workload up there, up towards Murray County. But they work in a circuit, and we all work together. And then the general sessions judges, each county has their own general sessions judge. So the general sessions judge does not travel to other counties. They kind of stay in the county. So right now, Judge Chris Sockwell is in Lawrence County with us. So the thing that I didn't understand before I became circuit court clerk, of course, I worked for a computer company for 32 years that we worked directly with the court offices. But what I didn't understand about the working of the courts and how much interaction that the court offices, my office, has with the sheriff's office, has with the city police department, has with the judges, has with the DA, the district attorneys, has with public defenders, has with the victim witness coordinators. I mean, every piece of paper that comes through every legal form usually comes through my office.
That's right.
And so the great thing that I have, and I would be remiss not to mention, if you have an organization, you're only as good as the staff that you have running your organization, that working in your.
And you've got a pretty good staff.
I have an amazing staff. I have Sandy Newton that keeps care of all of my book work and all my accounting things. She keeps me out of jail. She keeps me from coming
We
downstairs.
need to give her a raise.
Hey, I'm telling you, man. I have added one thing that I heard during the campaign is people calling my office, and I kind of sit there for about 3 or 4 months, kind of identified some things, and so I was able to hire a person just to answer the phones in my office, which has been a tremendous thing. And so Carol Dickey answers our phones. So if you call 762-4398, which is our main number, you're going to get a human on the line.
I need
You're
to
not
put
going
that,
to.
I need to put,
There you go.
you know how old I am? I still got 762-7700.
There you go.
So
That's the main.
7701.
Yeah. So okay. So our buddy Russ Brewer. Everybody thought that Russ and I were running against each other because county clerk, circuit court clerk. So Russ continually says, Tommy Lee, I get all your phone calls in my office and have transfer them over there.
That's
So,
great.
yeah. So if you need the circuit office, just call Russ's office. He'll get you to me. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you do.
Cool.
You got a great staff.
I do.
Yes,
I do.
absolutely.
They work closely with us.
They
and-
work very
and-
closely.
And every time I'm up
Yeah.
there, trying to find some kind of information or something, they're all willing
Right.
to help. And that's
We do.
that's a good. I mean, y'all are in the customer service work,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely.
So you got to have that. You got to have it. How much time we got?
We got 10 minutes.
And we usually, we deal with some difficult situations in our office. Usually, I told everybody during the, I now tell everybody later after I've been in office a little bit, I'd love for you to come see me in the office. Just don't be my customer, unless you're on a jury panel. So
That's it.
yeah, but I do want to mention Jody Hunter and Cheryl Howell take care of my General Sessions side, my General Sessions criminal side. Tina Dorflinger takes care of my General Sessions civil side. And then Tammy Hardy and Carla Exum take care of my circuit criminal things that go on. Jennifer Springer takes care of the juvenile stuff. Mary Green is there, and she does a wonderful job with records retention, other things in the office. And then I just hired Joseph Garrettson to do the traffic things. So
And because of him, we've got to change some of the ways that we do things.
Right.
You arrest somebody in Lawrenceburg, say around 3:30, 4 o'clock. It's standard to say, "Man, I got to hurry up and go see the girls in the clerk's office so I can get this paperwork signed."
Right.
We no longer can refer to it as the girls in the
There you go.
office.
Right.
We have a young man there, and he seems like he likes it.
He was in my office just last Friday, I guess, and he's been there now for going on a month now. And he came in my office and he said, "Tommy Lee, I just want to let you know I love this job." So the court, it's just fascinating to me. All the court proceedings, everything that goes on, and if you really like that stuff, I mean, it is really interesting work.
Well, we're glad to have you there. Me especially. It's kind of a Summertown takeover with
There you
local
go.
government. How many of us? How many
That's-
of us are? We got a judge from Summertown, our new
That's
circuit
exactly
judge,
right. Julie
Julie
Heffington. That's right.
So yeah.
Did you know
Summertown's on the
John
map
and I
now, Grooms.
went to Summertown High School?
Actually, I did.
Yeah.
I did know
You got
that.
circuit court clerk from Summertown.
So
You got
proud.
sheriff from
Yeah.
Summertown. You got a
There you
circuit judge from Summertown. Help me out.
That's right.
We
The
got
baby boomers in Summertown have done well.
They had done well. Look at them.
That's hilarious.
These two gave me jury
We got-
duty,
I don't
so
mind
there's
telling you, I
that.
graduated in
I blame it on
1986.
them.
What year did you graduate?
Um,
Your sister was a year below me. I think she graduated in 87. Missy.
yeah, I graduated in '89.
Okay.
Best
Oh.
year ever at Summertown.
It's crazy.
It was
My mama
best year.
graduated in '83.
He graduated the year before I was born.
That's hilarious. Hey, we got to talk about some stuff before we run out of time. We are, let's see, where am I at? I'm leaving today. When I leave here, I'm going to training in Franklin, and then tomorrow, me and a bunch of other sheriffs are going to
I
be
feel
up
like I
on
need
a-
to say this is
We're-
pre-recorded.
We're going to be, that's right. Yeah, so it is today. Tuesday.
Today is Tuesday.
So
This will
I'll be
air on
back.
Thursday.
I'll be back
by the time it
this
airs.
But if so, when you're watching this Thursday, Wednesday, I was at the Capitol with some other sheriffs lobbying
Gotcha.
against some of those
It's
crazy.
kind of like
bills
flying
that they're
flying from Nashville to Atlanta. You actually land before you took off.
Yes.
So
Back to the
Right.
future stuff. Yeah, it's
Right.
Back to the future stuff. Also, we're still taking applications for our Citizens Academy. If I remember correctly, it's going to be in May. It's 12 weeks. If you're interested in it, or if you know somebody that's interested, tell them to go by 240 West Gaines and grab an application, fill it out and turn it in. Tell them you want to go to the Citizens Academy. It's a great thing, and it's been very welcomed at the sheriff's office. Molly and Charlotte
I didn't
went
do
through
it. I was
She
pregnant at the
chickened
time.
out. She used
Does,
it if she was pregnant.
Anthony Washburn, was he heading that
Yes,
for you?
he runs it.
He's
Yeah.
running that whole thing, so.
Yeah, he does a good job.
Molly and Charlotte really enjoyed it. They do like different, they have a driving night, they have like scenarios and shooting and all kinds of
You
stuff.
learned the proper way to put somebody in a headlock
Probably.
or something
We
like that?
really
We
can't do that no more.
Oh,
Let's
okay.
make that disclaimer right now.
Jinx, you owe me a pack of gum. and a
Well, that
peanut butter
stinks.
sandwich.
I know.
No more headlocks. Have y'all had any, major calls since last time? Y'all had the break-in at Heritage, right?
Yeah, the break-in at Harris. My goodness.
That one got a
So-
lot of attention.
Yeah, it's not every day that you get a, I don't know, $350,000, $400,000 theft,
Probably.
you know, all at one time. So yeah, brand new Corvette. I think 3 other vehicles. That investigation is still.
I heard that
still
one
ongoing.
was recovered. Is that true, or do you know?
I have information that there was one possibly recovered in middle Alabama area. Don't
That's going to be the one that I heard about too.
So this was, do we think this was a professional job or? I mean,
So again, not being on the investigative side,
Right.
but just hearing things in passing and seeing stuff, it would appear that this was very organized.
I gotcha.
And I say, fortunately, we're not the only one. I'm not saying that because I like to hear about there being major thefts in our area in the state, but it would appear that they're organized. They are very good at what they do. They do have a system. It would appear that it's planned out, and unfortunately, right here in our sweet little old hometown, we fell victim to some very experienced crime professionals. And it's not just with high-end vehicles and local car lots. As we've discussed on the show before, our elderly are victims of fraud in this area at a lot bigger expense than our car lots, our banks, so on and so forth. Getting back to everybody should just love one another,
Amen,
Just
brother.
think-
We
Nice.
had me and you was talking before we got started, and I was trying to think of what we've had that's been kind of a big deal. I mean, we had a elderly guy that got run over by his own tractor yesterday, and he wasn't hurt that bad, by what I was told. We got out there, but EMS and fire and everybody else was out there. Apparently, he was starting it from the ground, and when it started, it just
Yeah.
took off. It was in gear.
Wow.
But he was complaining of some pain in his leg, and I think he was alert and talking. So hopefully he makes a full recovery. I just got out of a budget meeting. This is always a stressful time of year, ain't it, Tommy? You're gonna learn.
Amen.
You're gonna learn, man.
I turned mine in.
It's a stressful time of year when
Right.
you're dealing with
It is.
budgets. What's your budget this year?
$835,000 out of my office.
Oh, well, mine's
So-
just a little over 5.5 million.
Yeah, I
so
know.
it's probably closer to 6.
Right.
No, we went and had a real good meeting, and I know it's just an initial, what I call a soft meeting to go over numbers
Sure.
and kind of get a plan.
Right.
But I feel pretty good about it.
So this is the meeting where you don't get your feelings hurt, right?
Yes.
That's correct.
It's more. It's
That's
kind of
correct.
like this. It's a
correct.
little bit like a BS session / throw some numbers and
We'll see where we land.
Like, you can do better than that.
Well, this is what
Feel
March,
like we just got done with the last year's
We got
budget.
2.5
I know.
months before the budget is coming up. We were a little late on it last year
Right.
because there were some issues, but I think they've got a really good plan this year, and it should roll pretty good. I hope. I got my fingers crossed.
Right.
Have y'all been keeping up with any of the DC politics or some of the stuff going on? Did y'all see that Haggerty's bill that he tabled, the one that said that illegals will not be counted in towards the population of a state? and it didn't pass because
Democrats voted it out.
all the Democrats voted against it.
Yeah,
Is that
you were
not
telling me
crazy?
that
Yeah, I got
yesterday.
I got that text yesterday, and it's almost hard to grasp.
And this is the issue with the electoral college nowadays, in my opinion. Again, this is my opinion. You look at the map, and the whole entire country is pretty well red, but you have these little bitty pockets, which are huge pockets,
Right.
but on the map, they're little bitty, and you got a few places determining the whole entire election. And a lot of those folks that are helping to determine that election, I don't know another way to say it.
Undocumented.
Exactly. So we've got some issues that really have to be
It
addressed.
says Senate Democrats voted unanimously to kill Senator Haggerty's amendment to stop illegals from being counted in the Electoral College and appointment of congressional seats. Both voted, John Tester and Sherrod Brown both voted to give illegals congressional and presidential representation. 51-45. So let that sink in. And if somebody wants to find out exactly how their senators voted, they just need to get on there and look, because it'll show you every one of them.
And I could see where you were going with that. Looking for the undocumented phrase. But at the end of the day, I ain't Joe Biden. They're legal. Okay. You go to 85% of the other countries in this world and you enter their country illegally. If you don't die, you're probably hurt. If you don't get hurt, you're most likely thrown in jail.
Yep.
And for the life of me, and I'm getting off on a soapbox here, I don't understand what we're doing. We are the greatest nation in the world who generally supplies the majority of the protection for the rest of the world, but we're not protecting ourselves.
Nope.
And I pray to God I'm wrong. My children pray for this country every single night. And I pray that I'm wrong, but if we don't do something different, and I'm talking on a drastic scale, we're not going to like what we see or get.
Well, and I truly believe what I'm fixing to say. We've never been in the situation we're in right now, ever, in the history of anything. I truly believe that I'm a believer in Jesus is going to catch us away, and I believe we're close to that. The signs, if you read Revelation, the signs are here, and if we do make it my lifetime, and he don't come back and get us, we are moving into socialism. We're moving there rapidly, and when you move there, that is the sign before the fall. You look at the history of a country, and when they move to that, they crumble from within, and that's where we're headed. And I don't mean that in a pessimistic way. That's a realistic look at what's going on. So,
Real quick, before we wrap it up, this month and next month, the Lawrence County Sheriff's Office is serving warrants. We are serving warrants and subpoenas and any kind of criminal or civil paper. I went down to the warrant drawer last week or 2 weeks ago, and I couldn't hardly get it open. It's so full. So I'd commanded my people to let's focus on nothing but serving papers for 2 months. So we're thinning them out. So I'm saying all that to say, if you think you have a warrant, call us.
Yeah.
It's a lot better if you turn
Absolutely.
yourself in.
absolutely.
Because if we have to ride all the way down to the south end or north end or east end or west end of the county, way back in the sticks, to get you, we're going to handcuff you, we're going to put you in the back seat, and we're going to take you to 240 West Gaines. We're going to do it in front of your wife and kids and your mom and your daddy and everybody else that's there. So it's better if you think you got a warrant or you know you got a warrant, come on down, turn yourself in, we'll get you booked in, booked out, and you can go on about your merry way. If we catch you on the road, chances are we're going to tow your vehicle.
Well, hey, why not give an incentive if it's not a violent crime, and they turn themselves in? Why not get with the judge or the magistrate's office and say, maybe if we can't get an ROR bond or something? I mean, hey, talk.
I mean, he's in good with the judges. I mean, him and the judges eat lunch every day at like 11:30. Matter of fact, that's probably why he's ready to go.
Hey, John, I know this is your show, and you can determine if this happens or not. But if you're okay, before we head out, I'd like to say a prayer for all.
Let's do it. Let's end
all right?
with a prayer.
Is that
Great,
okay?
Great idea.
All right.
Bring it.
Dear Lord, I come to you right now, and God, I thank you so much for these two guys sitting right here with me. God, as I see the inner workings of our court system and our legal system here in Lawrence County, we are all about helping folks. And if somebody's willing to help themselves, John, Blake, Judge Harris, we're all about helping them if they're willing to help themselves. And Lord, we just thank you for the opportunity to serve. God, we thank you for the opportunity of helping folks. And Lord, I just pray right now, as Blake said, they pray every night. Lisa, Abigail, and I, Lord, you know, we pray every night for our country. And God, things that are happening right now, our leadership, Lord, I pray they look to you, start looking to you for guidance, Lord. And Lord, listening to that guidance you give us. God, we pray for wisdom here locally, that all the decisions we make may be in accordance to your will. And God, we pray that we look for ways to shine your light, not our light, but your light for your glory. God, we thank you most of all for your grace and your mercy that you give us that we do not deserve. And God, we just thank you for the territory that we live in here. Lawrence County is a great place to live. God, but we thank you most of all for sending your son Jesus and not leaving him in that grave and raising him on the third day. So if we believe in that, we can have a chance to go to heaven too. All this we ask in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Good
Everybody
job.
say bye.
Bye-bye.